What's going on, everybody? It's your boy Non-Dairy, and in today's video I want to talk more about Fancy Bird's earnings. If you haven't already done so, please be sure to check out my previous video on Fancy Bird's breeding, as well as how you can earn Fancy Coin. In this video, I'm going to talk about yet another way that you can earn even more Fancy Coin and even USDC by playing the Fancy Birds tournaments. So without further ado, let's get right into it and let's get fancy. So what are Fancy Birds tournaments? Well, the Fancy Games DAO began hosting daily tournaments on Fancy Birds starting March 4th. There will also be special tournaments in the future, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. In these tournaments, you'll be able to earn FNC as well as USDC as shown in the image in the bottom right hand corner. Now that I've given you a brief overview of the Fancy Birds tournaments, let's now start talking about the daily tournaments. As stated before, Fancy Birds has launched the daily tournaments on March 4th, and if you wish to participate in the tournament, the way you can do so is by using your free daily tickets. Free daily tickets are given out to owners of birds based on how many birds they own and which type. The daily cash prize pool is 1,000 USDC and 5,000 FNC, which is subject to change in the future, but for now, the 1,000 USDC and 5,000 FNC is distributed out to the top 15% of players that score the highest within the daily tournament. In the next slide, I'll give you a breakdown on how many daily tickets you can possibly receive. So in terms of daily tickets, again, it's dependent on how many Fancy Birds you own and which types. So in this case, you're giving out 1 ticket per baby bird you own, 2 tickets per Genesis bird, 3 tickets per mutant, and 4 tickets per legendary. So what happens if you run out of free daily tickets but you still want to play in the tournaments? Well, what happens is for each additional attempt you take, you have to burn 1 FNC token. So let's say that I ran out of daily tickets and I wanted to play an additional 5 times. Well, I'd have to burn 5 FNC in order to do so. So before I begin talking about the special tournaments, I'm going to teach you how to access and enter the Fancy Daily Tournaments within the Fancy Birds game if you wish to do so. Alright, as you can see, I'm here on the Fancy Birds site and I'm logged into the game. If you wish to play the tournament, what you're going to want to do is go to the leaderboard section as shown here, and you're going to want to click on the tournament button as such. Here you can see the timer to how long the tournament will last. You can see the current prize pool, and you can see how many attempts you have. As you can see, I own 1 Genesis bird, which means I have 2 free daily tickets. If you want to enter the tournament, you have to click enter tournament, and then you can start the game as such. As you can see, I just used up 1 attempt. Now it shows that I have 1 of 2 attempts left. Now, this was just a simple tutorial on how to enter the tournament if you wanted to do it yourself. And do note that if you want to enter the tournament again, you have to click the enter tournament button once again. And then you're able to start one more time. As you can see, I just finished out my entries, and now I have to pay for more tries. So as you can see, it's going to cost 3 FNC per attempt if I wish to play again. So this was just a simple tutorial, and I hope that this was helpful. Thank you. Before I begin talking about special tournaments, I do want to note something. You guys may have caught this, but before I mentioned that it costs you 1 FNC per additional attempt, but in the video where I walked you through how to enter the tournament, it was telling me to pay 3 FNC for another attempt. I spoke with people in the Discord about this, and the way it works is when you pay 3 FNC for an additional attempt, you're actually getting 3 attempts. So technically you are paying 1 FNC per additional attempt, but you can only purchase these in batches of 3. At this point in time, you can't pay 1 FNC for an additional attempt. So now that I've talked about how you can enter the daily tournaments, let's now start talking about special tournaments. Fancy Games will be launching special tournaments in the future that will be holding larger prize pools. Larger prize pools meaning larger amounts than just 1,000 USDC and 5,000 FNC. The way you can possibly be qualified for special tournaments will either be by being a top player within the leaderboard section with the high score, or it'll be invitation only. In the next couple slides, I'll be talking about prize payouts and what they can look like. As you can see, I was able to gather information on the prize payout by looking at the blockchain Polygon transaction that was provided to us by Fancy Birds, and In this tournament here, 400 players had entered and only the top 60 players were rewarded. In this slide, you can see how much money the top 9 players had received, both in FNC and USDC. I then took the liberty of adding up the FNC and USDC for a total amount in dollars for what a player received. So for example, in this case, number 1 received 1,336 FNC and 250 USDC, which combines to a value of $491. In the next slide, I'm going to show you what the remaining payouts looked like for if you placed in 10th place or lower. So as you can see here again, if you got in 10th place, you earned 64 FNC plus 12 USDC. If you placed in 59th place, you got 22 FNC and 4.2 USDC. The reason why I wanted to show this slide also was because you can see that Fancy Birds has decided to lump payments dependent on which place you were in. So in this case, if you were in 10th place or if you were in 15th place, it didn't matter. You actually received the same amount of FNC and USDC, which I find pretty interesting. Another thing I wanted to note is, as of this tournament, again, only 400 players entered, which is why the top 60 were rewarded. If you were to scale this up even higher, like let's say, for example, 1,000 players entered the tournament, and Fancy Birds saying that they would actually reward the top 15%, well, instead of 60 players getting a payout, it would actually turn into 150 players sometime in the near future. So I do want to note that as more people participate in the tournament, the more people will place in the top 15%, which will cause the rewards to be distributed even more. So that was everything I had to say about the Fancy Birds tournament, as well as additional earnings that you can get within the game if you decide to enter said tournaments. So with that being said, thank you so much for checking out my YouTube video. I really very much appreciate it. If you guys enjoy this content, please like, comment, and subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. I also left my Twitch and Twitter here as well. I highly encourage you guys to hit the follow on Twitch and Twitter, more specifically Twitch, because I will be streaming Fancy Birds in the near future. So if you guys want to find out more about Fancy Birds, please be sure to stop by on my Twitch and let me know how I did in this video and any additional questions you have. So again, if you guys enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe, and I hope you guys have a great rest of your day.